Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday launched the Payments Bank of the Indian Postal Department that will take banking to the doorstep of every citizen through an unmatched network of post offices and almost 3 lakh postmen and Grameen Dak Sevaks. India Post Payments Bank will be like any other bank, but its operations will be on a smaller scale without involving any credit risk. It will carry out most banking operations like accepting deposits but can't advance loans or issue credit cards. The freshly minted Payments Bank will accept deposits of up to 1 lakh rupees, offer remittance services, mobile payments, transfers, purchases and other banking services like ATM, debit cards, net banking and third-party fund transfers. The government owns 100% in IPPB, which has been set up under the aegis of the Department of Posts and will offer products and services through multiple channels such as counter services, micro ATMs, mobile banking application, messages and interactive voice response. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze the newly launched India Post Payments Bank. Joining me on the program today are K. Badrinath, Policy Editor, Financial Chronicle; Ajay Dua, former Secretary, Ministry of Commerce and Industry; Professor Santosh Kumar Mehrotra, Professor of Economics, JNU; and TQ Mohammed, Secretary, Postal Services Board. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Tanveer Mohammed, I'd like to begin with you first, of course. Let's try and put into perspective what are the salient features of the IPPB.
See, IPPB is established with the focus on the small payments. Basically, as the name indicates, it's a payments bank, and to promote small digital payments in the rural area. So once we see the rural area, nothing is better than in terms of the network of the post offices. We have almost 1.55 lakhs post offices and almost 4.5 lakhs employees, GDS, Grameen Dak Sevaks, and the postmen spread all over the country, even in the remotest part of the India. So looking at that, the most important challenge with the government is how to actually go to the rural area, because there you find many cash basically circulating in that. So less cash economy, looking at that, and digital payment. Government of India came up with this India Post Payment Bank, having the largest network of any government organization in India. And basically we have come up with very easy banking solution for the rural masses. In fact, India Post Payment Bank has also come up with assisted UPI, because UPI handling for the rural masses is very difficult. So the postman now can go to the doorstep, can open a UPI account for the rural persons and basically do all kinds of transactions. He can go take the deposits, give the withdrawals. But idea is basically to see that how these cash can be basically reduced and brought into digital payments and all this. The maximum focus. The silent feature, like if you ask, it's the deposit amount is 1 lakh rupees. That maximum end of day balance is 1 lakh. But the best thing is that IPPB has been integrated with India Post Office Savings Bank, which is a very old banking system in India. And anything which is beyond 1 lakh rupees will be automatically transferred to the POSB based on the consent of the customer. So that cash balance is not a problem, and accordingly the the money can be transferred from POSB, Post Office Savings Banks, to the IPPB, giving a very complete integrated solution for the payment, basically for the rural masses as well as for the rural urban migrants, laborers, homemakers. Postman will go to the doorsteps and can provide all these banking facilities.
Doorstep banking is the key word, really, as far as this is concerned, is what Mr. Mohammed is suggesting. Mr. Dua, how is it going to be different from any of our other banks now that we see?
Frank, let me just start by saying that today, despite all the Jan Dhan Yojana schemes, efforts, etc., there is an estimate that 18% of India's population is not being served by the banking system. And most of them happen to be in remote, inaccessible rural areas. I see the IPPB filling an important gap of the kind I mentioned in our scheme of inclusion. This is the sixth payment bank which is become operational, for which the Reserve Bank of India has granted the licenses. But it's going to be different from the others because the focus of this is going to be largely rural. Though post offices, as was mentioned, there are 1.55 lakh post offices plus a whole lot of postal, what do you call the postal Grameen Sevaks. The fact of the matter is we needed to devise a ways and means to reach out to the rural poor persons, farmers, call them housewives and others, and this is a way to reach them. Alongside the fact that it is going to be much cheaper than conventional banking. And conventional banking hasn't been spreading because the banks are not charging the cost of services to the people, not able to do it, and then they don't expand themselves. So it is a situation of saying we've opened a branch, but there are hardly any operation.
And it also comes with, without the problem of an NPA because there are no credit risks.
At the end of the day. But having said that, I think all that is now being sought is let's get a cheaper way of reaching out. Let's reach out to distant people in the distant remote areas who either today are not banking with the post office or with the bank because they either don't have enough money, or they are worried about the documentation which is required to open an account, or they think that one person in the family already has it, where is the need for another person to open it up? So IPPB is aiming itself to get over these difficulties. It's in the saving bank scheme itself has got three features. You can have a regular account, you can have a digital account, and you could also have an app-based entire arrangement. So
right.
I am cautiously optimistic that it will work out. Because as of why I use the word cautious is today we have only 2 pilot projects in Raipur and Ranchi running since January 2017, on the basis of which now this bank has been launched. I'm sure there is much more homework has been done, and not merely these 2 pilot projects. And we are covering 660 odd post offices, 3,000 odd contact points, etc. And the aim being that by the end of the year, the current calendar year itself, we would have all the 1.55 lakh post offices into the network.
Sure. Professor Santosh Kumar Mehrotra of JNU joins us on the program right now. Professor Mehrotra, Mr. Rajay Dua is suggesting that he is cautiously optimistic as far as the IPPB is concerned. What do you believe are its limitations and challenges, if any, going forward?
Well, I guess the big challenge is going to be the post office suddenly you're going to ask the postman.
Well, we seem to have lost the line there with Professor Mehrotra, but we'll try and reconnect with him. Let's not forget it's overcast and raining in Delhi, so we could have some technical issues. K. Badrinath is also with us on the program. What are the advantages, really, Badrinath, as far as this payments bank is concerned?
Advantages, as Mr. Dua was pointing out, maybe the cost of your transaction. If the Indian Post are able to give competitive costs, because they will be dealing with small ticket customers, and if it is professionally run as any other payment bank which is there, then perhaps that will be the biggest advantage that the Indian Post Payment Bank will be able to, derive. Number one. Number two, the connectivity will be the biggest challenge for the India Post Bank. For the simple reason that even for a micro ATM to work, when the dog Babu goes to your home, trying to deliver your money order or your money that you want to either transact through the micro ATM or the payment device that he carries with him, If the connectivity is going to fail you, then you have a big issue there. This I'm seeing from the customer's point of view, because their plans are very huge. You want to take this bank to 155, perhaps 1,000 odd post offices, which may be in the remotest corner. Of course, BSNL network has improved in a big way, but having data connectivity, even to connect, even to do the minimum banking service, will be the biggest challenge, the technology challenge that India Post Bank will be, facing. That will be a very big issue. But if you overcome that, and if you are able to provide professional services, mind you, this will be the biggest achievement that would have happened in the last 1 decade in the banking services. And it will also lead to what we are trying to achieve, what is the larger objective of financial inclusion.
Right.
Otherwise, you would have gone to some broker for some money somewhere. So
Right.
that part is one. He is going to be connected directly into the mainstream banking services. It may be a small one, because the needs there are not too many. Maximum, what do you want? You want to withdraw some money? You want to deposit some money? Or you want to send some money across to your parents who are there somewhere in the remotest villages. This is not possible in a jiffy right now.
Right.
If the payments bank can do it, it will be the biggest issue. When you,
Though Badri is also envisaged to do a few other things like settle you pay your bills,
Yeah.
utilities and other
utility
bills, pay, distribute insurance, mutual fund, pensions, etc. That's also envisaged in the scheme of things. It is possible. What you're saying is absolutely right. At the end of the day, the service will have to be efficient, cost effective, as well as per se available. If your connectivity is going to be a very major issue, for instance, Badri, if I might just take a second, instead of ATM and debit cards, what's envisaged is QRs.
QR, yes.
The quick responses. The quick response is actually highly dependent upon, because one, it's a barcode,
Right.
very longish barcode, so somebody has to be able to read it. Second, it's you don't have to give your password or any number, your bank account number or any such thing. Instead, it's going to be based on your biometrics. All these things are then going to be checked back with the main server. And there, the point which Mr. Badrinath made, highly relevant. Connectivity at the end of the day could decide how efficient
Right.
and how effective the new change
in
is.
fact, if you
Yeah.
see this, why are the banking correspondents who are appointed in the rural areas not able to deliver services? Because many of them, when they sit on the computer, the system is not working. One, second, the connectivity is not available.
Yeah.
If you come across these two challenges, my guess this will be the biggest revolution that would have happened in the rural banking sector.
Right. Yeah, I completely get that. I mean, I know that it is a major problem because we saw with the Aadhaar as well, the systems being down several times, even in cities, and people not being able to get their Aadhaar cards and biometrics done at that point in time. Let me go across to Professor Mehrotra. Now, Professor Mehrotra, you were speaking about the challenges and limitations really as far as the India Post Payments Banks is concerned.
Well, first of all, let me say that this is a hugely important and hugely welcome development, because one thing is that, public sector banks will not need to continue to expand physical brick and mortar branches. And also, secondly, it will have the implication that, they will probably stop hiring any more BCs, banking correspondents, because you have a huge already existing network of postmen attached to because you have one post office per 4 villages on average across India. However, let's just go to what I was saying earlier, which is that this man who's the postman, he's used to delivering dak, and he's used to delivering money on the money order and stuff like that, and receiving money for money orders. I mean, you will have to train this fellow. He will have to do all sorts of new things. You know, he will say, oh, maybe I want to be incentivized. I don't know whether he will take the same degree of efficiency. The word efficiency has been used by 3 other panelists. So I hope and pray that the services that the IPPB is supposed to deliver actually do get delivered. This is over and above the issues that have been raised by other panelists earlier about connectivity, because I've with my own eyes seen in a village where a banking correspondent was there, and it took him a fairly long time to actually connect to his bank in order to find out my bank balance, for instance.
Right.
So, you know, connectivity, speed, all of this. I mean, if we are able to improve actual connectivity and actual speed of operation, then all of this will work as envisaged. If not, well, it's a wonderful thing, and that's about it.
All right. Mr. Mohammed, it's a noble initiative. It's something that could be a game changer, and it's something that, if it done right, you know, can really transform the way we look at banking, is what all the panelists are suggesting and saying that it's a fantastic idea. But also they have raised some challenges. How do we overcome these challenges, and do we have, you know, a long-term plan as well in place for this?
See, the Department of Post is actually undergoing a major transformation since last 5-6 years. And most of the village post offices have been given the micro ATMs. They are already working on that. The Post Office Saving Bank is already under the core banking solution, which is used by the bank. But the problem with the Department of Post was that the RBI, it doesn't fall under the RBI regulations. So the permission for the RTGS, NEFT were not given to the department. And once the IPPB is there, in fact, so there is a complete integration. And these Grameen Dak Sevaks already doing these banking operations in a smaller way in each village. So they are well trained, in fact, I will say. They need to be further trained on the mobile devices and mobile applications and all. And a massive training program is actually undergoing right now, in fact, because we want to roll out now 1.55 lakhs access point by the end of. So these professionalism, definitely it is required. Because they need to be given banking training and some other technology training, and there's a 5-day training actually going for every end users, and these trainings are actually taking place all over, in fact, in the country, especially at the district headquarter and sub-town level. The other part which the issue was raised is connectivity. So let me tell you, out of 25,000 post offices which we have, call it sub post offices, we have already connectivity in almost 23,500 post offices. There are 1,500 post offices where there are, problem of connectivity that is being sorted out through either through the VSAT or, some other mechanism. And also in the rural area, what we have done, we have taken the aggregator. In fact, IPPB has signed a contract with the SIM card aggregator, which has basically 5-6 vendors, and whatever SIM card is actually available there, working, same SIM card is given. It's not that we are totally dependent either on one service provider. So in fact, that idea of aggregation of the SIM card, in fact, is taking care of a lot of connectivity issue. And the application itself is actually requires very less, it does not require a very heavy, kind of bandwidth.
It's a light application.
It's a very light applications. Mobile application is also there. The QR card, I think hardly 25.
Interesting that you brought up QR card, because that is something new. That is something that probably the masses don't know about, because it's going to replace your ATM debit card.
Yes.
How does this work really, and how is it different from the ATM cards that we are used to now?
See, in rural area, if you look at the number of ATMs and other, the POS machines are very less. And it is also very difficult for the rural masses to remember their account number and all the other details. The QR card is simply, once it is scanned, all the details actually comes. The postman go, to the doorstep. He scans, just take the QR card, scans it through the mobile. All details are available. There is no need to remember, in fact, anything. There is no need actually, and see this debit card and ATM operations are also very costly. It's not, in fact. So that will also help them, in fact, the bank as well as the customer, to get rid of the cost which Mr. Badrinath was raising. So all these things, in fact, and I will say, you know, the bouquet of services which we are providing and linking with the post office saving banks. In fact, every account, if the customer gives a consent, will be linked with the post office saving banks. So if you want to deposit money in your daughter's Sukanya Samriddhi account, or if you want to deposit money in your monthly income scheme, that can be done. Earlier, it was not possible. You have to go to the post office or depend upon the agent.
Right.
So almost 17 crore POSB account and almost 34 crore jointly, in fact, are now would be live, in fact, in few months' time. And you can do any kinds of transactions through the post office as well as through the IPPB.
Right. Mr. Dua, this brings me to my next question. How is the India Post Payments Bank different from the Post Office Savings Bank?
As was mentioned by Mr. Mohammed himself, the POSB, the existing setup, doesn't have any limits on how much money can be put into an account in the POSB. The POSB also operates the various saving schemes of the government run by the Department of Post, whereas the Payments Bank is supposed to have a limit of 1 lakh rupees deposit. Transactions above 1 lakh rupees it will not take. But what seems to have been done, and rightly so, is that if there is a balance of over 1 lakh, you may have deposited 1 lakh, some interest has accrued because there is an interest feature also as long as the money is there, then that excess amount beyond 1 lakh will move to POSB. I, in fact, envisage a situation when we are informally talking earlier before the show, saying in course of time, the entire payment mechanism today being administered by the post office, postal department, could be envisaged to be under the IPPBs. Fixed deposits, whether it is what used to be Kisan Vikas Patrika and other kinds of old age pension and other kind of schemes, which were basically tax saving schemes, some of them, some only for income scheme. All these things could be put together under the IPPB and administered properly. I say that the word properly, not because of I have any grave doubts about the ability of the hard work which our postmen do, and it's not an easy life. Fact of the matter is that they are moving into an exercise which is highly digital. The training which they will be required, they will need to undergo, will be periodical, not just once, so that they are kept, they keep themselves abreast of the technology which is coming into the new scheme of things.
Right.
I am envisaging a situation somewhat similar, if we don't do that, to what had happened to the GST network. First 6 months, it got more brickbats than bouquets. Now as we go forward, now bouquets are being given. Saying the system has been fixed, but it did have to go through the kind of metamorphosis which we have seen.
So it shouldn't be a learn as you go, but it should be a robust system from the beginning itself, is what you're suggesting.
The reason is, if I am not able to withdraw my money, my anger will be much more than if I am not able to pay my tax.
Right.
Because the tax was going to somewhere else. Here I want my money to come to me the way I want it. But a very positive thing about, another positive thing, correct me Mr. Mohammed if I am wrong, that you can also, under the scheme of things, that limitation of payments banks cannot lend, that could also be overcome if these IPPB outfits become banking correspondents of regular banks.
Right.
Sir, we already have RBI has allowed for the third party contract, in fact.
Tie-ups, yes.
And in fact, we are looking for a major, in fact, business through the third party product.
That's right.
We have already tied up with
PNB and Bajaj
Alliance and PNB, and there are so many, in the pipeline. So any credit product can be offered. Small, whatever, the assessment will be done by the third party and all. So all those things, in fact, it's a complete bouquet, and it's all paperless. There's nothing on the paper, it's only your thumb impression. It is 100% Aadhaar based. You are not required to do any signature and all. Your QR card is your kind of a passbook kind of thing. So it's very, automatic kind of system.
Right. Professor Mehrotra, till that time, the third-party tie-ups actually come into place and, the IPBP starts lending as well, how is it going to sustain itself, really?
Well, I mean, what is not clear is to what extent this is a money-making proposition for India Post. Meaning, is it that there are going to be earnings for the India Post? Because clearly, it's offering new services. That's very, very fine. That means, are we envisaging this as a welfare operation, welfare enhancing operation, or are we thinking of this as a self-paying operation? This is not become entirely clear to me, because the economics of this has not been spelled out at all, at least not in this discussion. And I would like to hear a little bit more from those who know a little bit more about this as to what are the costs and benefits. I mean, how has this been worked out? Or is this just a pure welfare measure?
Right. Mr. Badrinath has to say something, yeah.
I suspect the cost of providing such services by the Indian Post Payment Bank will be very minimal, for the simple reason they already have the infrastructure. They're only going to build up on the existing infrastructure platform that they have. One, huge distribution network that you have, which can be leveraged in a big way. Second issue is they already have the physical infrastructure there. And third, you have the personnel already on the field. Only thing is, as Mr. Dua was pointing out, the training part that needs to be reorientation from just delivering your, letters or money orders and things like that, into becoming a banking correspondent. Virtually, is going to be a banking correspondent, basically. So my guess is that they would definitely be very competitive. Second issue that comes to my mind is that the 700 or so odd branches that you're going to have this year, 650 branches, it will slowly be scaled up to 2,000 or something. And after that, you want to expand it across. The impact of this measure will be only seen when you actually go into the rural markets, where your ticket of, the customers, the transaction amount may be just 100 rupees.
Right.
It may be 50 rupees. We don't know.
Yeah.
We're going to go
but
into
when 1.25 billion people put in that 50 rupees,
market is going to
it's going to be a big kitty at the end of the day.
huge.
Closing comment now from Mr. Dua. I've got very limited time. Yes, Mr. Dua.
I think we need not worry too much about the costs at this particular point of time. As Badrinath pointed out, the infrastructure exists. In fact, what is aimed at is to reduce the losses of the postal department in running the services, because the volume of letters, the volume of money being transferred by money order, etc., has been shrinking. The plus in any case, there is a transaction cost irrespective of the amount of money. For instance, if you use by QR, 25 rupees per transaction, whether you draw 50,000 rupees or 50 rupees,
right.
It's a fixed 25 rupees. So that would probably take care to a large extent, and we expect the number of transactions to be much lower in rural areas than they are in urban, and so I guess that's the revenue model.
Right. Professor Mehrotra, 30 seconds. Close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
Well, I'm honestly quite delighted that we have come to this point in the life of India Post. I mean, I'm particularly delighted by the possibility that the brick and mortar of public sector banks, their branches will not need to grow. I'm sad about the fact that, there was going to be for youth the potential for jobs as banking correspondents, because the banks are going to stop hiring such people,
right?
Because we now have such a large number of post offices in any case already in place, which will play that role.
All right, Professor, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, to all my guests. And that's it on this edition of The Big Picture. See you again next time.